Hi, Donna.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
Beautiful night out.
It is. I think we might be the only two here.
Oh, well, right now we are, but as it gets closer, they start coming in.
It is beautiful out.
Yes. Do you have a PowerPoint or anything that you were going to share screen or?
Yes. Yes. Can I do that?
Yeah, go ahead and test that out.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Good.
see perfectly.
All right. We should be getting good at this point.
Yeah, we sure have done a lot of them. That's for sure. So all I was going to do is just let everybody know to please stay on mute, and then that if they had any questions, they could put their questions into chat and we'll address them at the end of the program. And then I'm just going to turn it over to you.
All right.
Oh, Christy's here.
Sounds good. Hey, Christy.
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
Good. You? Sorry to have you inside tonight. It's gorgeous out.
Christy, you froze up. Oh, she's coming in again.
Comes another one.
I have no idea what I just did there. I don't know. I clicked and I was gone.
Can you see that there are two of you?
There are? Oh, so I must be, had still been in. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to get out. Leave. Okay.
She left on the wrong one. Let me see if I can. Oh, there.
Am I good?
Yep, you're good now.
Okay.
It's the live version.
Yeah.
Oh. Don, I'll try not to crash your meeting this week.
Oh.
Don and I did a session last week and we were having technical difficulties through the whole thing anyways. And
yeah, it was a nightmare.
so at 7 o'clock, we started the question answer and I'm like, I'm just going to get off of this. Donna can handle it. Well, when I got off, I didn't realize I was the host. I hadn't started the meeting. But then it was completely gone for everybody. I get a text from Donna. Did you leave the meeting? And I'm like, yeah. It's gone.
So did everybody else.
Right. And question and answer. So we jumped back
adjourned.
in. A few people logged back in, but
Yeah.
we haven't really had too many problems. We've done a lot of these and it's gone pretty smooth. But last week, that one was just a disaster from start to finish.
Yeah.
We couldn't get the guy's music right. And the whole thing, it was just awkward.
Oh, no. Yeah, even on Zoom, we have those times, those days.
Yeah. So thanks for doing this, Chris. I hope the crowd's not a rough one tonight. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it lets them get it off their chest. It's been interesting, you know, since Friday when the mask mandate was lifted or whatever. Like that's kind of amped things up a little bit. And we've got, you know, it's all the end of the year stuff, and like kids are their most important resource, so they're emotional about things, and it's understandable.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good attitude. I'm sure it's been challenging.
Yeah.
I have access to the mute function.
We'll see if we need that tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be good. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, Brady, I took Brady after school and got his first vaccination today.
All right.
Yeah.
How do you do?
He did good. Yeah,
Good.
I had set an appointment up here at the fairgrounds was as soon as I could get on next to Thursday. But then I was able to get him down into Walgreens in Charlevoix today. So we just decided to do it.
Good. Yeah, my 7th grader got his, I think it was last Friday.
Yeah.
It was scheduled for Thursday and then something came up, so we rescheduled it for Friday and
Okay.
worked well. He was fine on Saturday.
Yep.
I just
It was good.
checked yesterday that my pregnant niece has tested positive.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't know if that, I mean, is that really bad or not necessarily, or, I mean,
don't know.
yeah, I haven't heard of
She's
it.
in good health otherwise, so hopefully it won't affect her. My sister has it right now and she's very sick.
Diane or your other
Yeah,
sister?
yeah, she's still at home and this is her daughter.
Oh,
It has gone through their family. And of all of our family, they're the only ones that aren't vaccinated.
My oldest son, who's a senior this year, had it. And my wife and I were both like 9 or 10 days after the second vaccine. So we weren't quite considered fully vaccinated and we ended up having to
Right.
quarantine, but
hmm.
we were able to keep our youngest from getting it. So that was good. Everybody was
Yeah.
on lockdown for a while in the house.
Yeah, I think as long as you follow instructions, you can keep it away.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there'll be a lot less of it around here now that the weather's getting nice and folks are, like a good number of folks are getting vaccinated. Well, hopefully it'll die down a little bit
Yeah,
or a lot bit.
I did just see that they're reporting that they might cancel the Olympics because they're in a wave right now.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah, I just saw that tonight on the local news station.
Can you imagine all that work and everything they've put into that?
Money, the
Yeah,
money they've put into it.
yeah. Well, and the poor athletes, they like live for this. Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, especially for those, well, all of them, but you're trying to get one more Olympics in before you retire your Olympic career, and this is it.
we might have one person tonight. Pretend it's a big crowd though.
I will.
We did, we had one presentation where there literally was only one person on it. But we did send the recording out and it was viewed quite a few times. It was the sports official,
oh, yeah.
O'Malley, was outright speaking directly to that person. Oh, some are coming on now.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, we'll edit this recording. So we'll cut out the whole beginning here and just send you the link tomorrow if you want to send it out or post it anywhere.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry you took a little grief about why I was not announcing this beforehand.
Actually, Donna took the initial call.
Yeah.
I just called her
Sorry,
back.
Don.
And Donna hadn't really been involved in the setup of it, the discussion that you and I had. And
Yeah,
so she didn't really know what it was all about, but yeah, she kind of let her have it, but it was okay. We got everything smoothed out, I think. I do see she's going to be on the call tonight, so.
Great.
That name I gave you, Chris, do you know who she is?
Yeah, I've heard that name before, but I don't know why.
Okay. I thought maybe I was under the impression you had maybe dealt with her in the past, but.
That's probably why it's kind of familiar, but there's been a few of them this year, so it's
Yeah.
getting to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
Via the phone and via Zoom. So it's been good. It'll be nice to get back to more face-to-face things. That'll be
Right.
good. Is your graduation done?
Yeah, that was it last Saturday or the Saturday before, Donna? No, 2 Saturdays ago. Not
Wow.
last Saturday, but the Saturday before. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Charlie's on here. McGinnis.
Oh, good.
What's Noon Rotary doing?
Noon Rotary?
Yeah, are you in Noon?
No, I'm
Oh,
in
you're in the morning. I
Yeah.
don't know where I was thinking you were.
Yeah. No.
Hopefully we'll be able to get back together again.
Yeah, I actually presented to the Kiwanis Club today about what, the stuff we're doing at the college, and they're in person.
Oh, good.
So.
Yeah, Noon's a big group.
Yeah, I know. I was in Noon for several years. That's just a much bigger time commitment.
I started out in Noon and just made the switch, as you know, like relatively recently. Because it's a lot of every Wednesday for 2.5 hours. It's a lot of time.
Yeah, Donna, you want to go ahead and let people in, and
Yeah.
we'll get Chris started.
Yeah, I'll give it a minute after I admit them.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started in about 1 minute.
Okay, it looks like everybody is connected, and I'm going to be letting more people in, I'm sure, but let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. I know it's really nice outside, so it's nice that you could make it. I wanted to let everybody know that if you could please stay on mute, and just if you have any questions, use the chat function down at the bottom of your screen. And we'll address any questions at the end of the program. And we will be sending a recording link out after this presentation, possibly tomorrow morning, so that anyone can watch the recording if they want. And so let's go ahead and get started. And we have Christopher Parker, the Superintendent of Petoskey Public Schools.
All right, thanks, Donna. Welcome, everybody. I will get right to it because, as Donna said, it is gorgeous outside. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you a little bit about what has been an interesting and challenging and in many ways a great school year here for us at the Public Schools of Petoskey. So I want to talk a little bit about tonight, where are we at right now and where do we think we're going? And of course, one of the stories of this year has been that changes sometimes from minute to minute or day to day and certainly week to week. But we'll get the crystal ball out and kind of give our best estimate right now about kind of where we think we're headed, both for the remainder of this year and then for the start of fall 21-22. Starting out at the elementary, since spring break, we've had 2 students that have tested positive for COVID and 1 staff member. Actually, I haven't updated this since earlier this morning. So we now have 3 student cases since spring break. And they're heavily involved at this time of year, as you know, in assessments. And so the M-STEP is in full force for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Science and social studies are being given for the 5th graders, and then ELA and math for all 3 of those grades. And then we're also giving an end of the year benchmark assessment, really kind of geared to measure growth in ELA and math, so language arts and math specifically, to gauge how much and how well students grew from fall to spring. So each one of our K-5 students will be taking that assessment if they have not yet already. At the middle school, in terms of COVID, we've had 10 positive student cases since spring break and 1 positive staff member since that time. 8th grade students taking the PSAT, and then 6th and 7th and 8th graders are all involved in M-STEP, which is our state assessment, and the NWEA assessment as well for ELA, math, and science. High school has seen, a substantial amount more numbers relative to our school district. 30 positive student cases since spring break, 2 positive staff cases since spring break, and they've taken the PSAT and the SAT, as well as M-STEP and for science and social studies for those lucky 11th graders. And then AP exams are pretty well through right now at this point, but there may still be some makeups and things happening that are going on. So all of those assessments have happened. For the most part, we've been able to remain open while several schools in Michigan and across the country have not been able to do that or figure that out consistently. So our staff, the fact that we're here, and what I hear, resoundingly from teachers and from principals is with all the talk kind of nationally about the lost year and all the learning loss, our folks are feeling pretty confident. Talking with principals, talking with several teachers across the district, they're feeling like they've got to more content this year than what maybe they've been able to do before. Their attendance has been higher than it's ever been in some cases. A teacher told me this morning, she said, Chris, I think this is my best year in my career. And I said, really? That's fantastic. What makes you say that? And she said, my attendance is through the roof. We've been able to get through content like never before. We're farther ahead than what we've ever been. And they really want to be here. They had that experience last spring when schools were shut down, and they really appreciate and want to be here to learn. And we're having a lot of fun. So the in-person option, we had about 80% of our students elect to come and attend school in person in our actual physical buildings, and about 20% of our students are in our online program, and some of them have attended extracurriculars and things at school, but their primary means of instruction is via our online program. We are excited to talk about graduation. So graduation is rapidly sneaking up on us here. So it'll be June 6th. We're going to do it outdoors in Northman Stadium. Our guidelines limit us to 1,000 spectators or patrons for the event. So each graduate will get about 4 tickets. If that, for folks that can't make it in, we will have the event live streamed. There'll be details about where and how to access that coming up on the high school webpage. And then we really, the senior parade that we did last year was what we started out with. We did the parade, and that was really well received by the graduates and by many of the families that we talked to, as well as the community. So it gives everybody a chance to celebrate these seniors for one last time as the parade, leaves the high school after the commencement ceremony, and then kind of, goes through town. So everybody gets a chance to stand out in their yard or stand along the parade route and cheer on our graduates, which is exciting. They've worked really hard. They've dealt with a very unusual set of circumstances in their high school careers, and now it is time for them to move on to their next step. With respect to athletics, our spring sports have been very active, very successful, lots of great competitive activities going on. We've had some amazing times, some amazing performances on the track, as well as in our other spring sports. But it has been, it's been great to see our kids back doing what they love to do. And that has required for us to be able to do that. We've had to do rapid antigen testing. So Joel Dome, our athletic director at the high school, Jason Purcell, our athletic director at the middle school, have been doing over 400 rapid antigen tests every week for all of our athletes. So what a great opportunity for them to be able to participate. This was something that, people had said, last spring, like we would do anything to have our spring season. We just want kids to be able to play and do the things that they really enjoy doing. This was one of those things that was put out there that if we wanted to participate, we had to do this. And parents and kids and our staff have really stepped up to the plate. Misty Jakeway, who I'll talk about a little bit later, our nurse from Alcona, really stepped up and helped us put together a system so that we could handle processing 400 of those tests every week. And we're going to get the band back together. So tomorrow night in Northman Stadium, they're going to be performing there for a large number of folks. Again, we're capped at 1,000 in the stadium. They're also going to perform on Memorial Day in Pennsylvania Park. And the Steel Drum Band has some activities that they're going to be doing, again, some gigs that they're going to be playing this summer. And then they are working on finalizing preparations for their band camp for this summer to get ready for the next year. So they're always, always working, always trying to improve, but really excited to get out and have the kids play in front of actual audiences and kind of show off what they've been working on, because they really haven't had a public performance, I don't think, since marching season. So they've been working really hard. They've been doing a great job following all the protocols, keeping everybody safe and healthy. And now it's time for their reward to get back outside and show everybody what they can do. And I'm sure most, if not all of you, have seen them before, and what they can do is pretty darn impressive. Budget. So we don't know necessarily, we probably won't have the state budget finalized before our budget is due at the end of June, but what we're expecting is, stable or slightly better per pupil foundation allowance, according to the House and Senate and governor's proposed budgets. So we're expecting to see that hold steady or to do slightly better. Concern for us is we're graduating a big class of high school students, and our kindergarten enrollment is creeping up, but pretty slowly. So we're still in need of some, new students, some new 5-year-olds to come in and fill out our kindergarten classrooms. I think that they will probably be back. I think we've had, 8 sections of kindergarten for as long as most people around here can remember. We expect that to fill up. It's just taking a little bit longer, making us a little bit more nervous about those numbers. But I think they'll be there in the end. The ESSER dollars, or the COVID relief funds, we're awaiting rounds 2 and 3. It will be a significant but non-recurring boost to the district that will spread out over, I think it's a 3-year spend down. So we'll have 3 years to spend, I'm going to say, a little over $4 million in federal coronavirus relief funds that are, kind of tailored and targeted towards specific areas. But we're hoping to be able to utilize that at least for device replacement on the electronic side of thing, as well as doing some innovative things about catching up for students that maybe do have some learning loss and need to catch up. So what else can we do that is going to be really leveraging and taking advantage of these one-time funds to put a program or system in place that could be sustainable after that funding and really make a big difference in the lives of kids and their learning and education. Also, along with those dollars, we have health and safety issues to address on an ongoing basis. There's that learning catch up. Some of the students that have to be caught up, we sort of, have had a hard time bringing along with the online program. So if somebody's, falling behind and they're in a classroom, we can have a face-to-face conversation. What we've learned this year is for some of the students that did fall behind in an online environment, it's a lot easier to just not answer an email or a phone call than it is to not look your teacher in the eye and go like, well, I'll get my homework to you this week. So some of them we expect we're going to have to catch up a little bit more, but for the most part, we've had students be very successful with the online program in the way that we provided it this year, where it was synchronous learning with, one of our Petoskey teachers. And then I don't think anybody knows yet. I'm optimistic that we won't have a lot or maybe any ongoing restrictions due to COVID. Certainly the 12 to 15-year-old group opened up for possibilities for vaccination this week. And then there's some kind of, I don't know what what the timeline is or how likely it is that under 12 will be approved. But there's a pretty decent chance that there'll be a fair number of our student body that will have been vaccinated, and hopefully that will have a significant positive impact on our ability to keep open schools, keep schools open, kind of have it feel more normal than what it was this year. And then just on the other budget side, we started negotiations with both our teachers and our support staff unions, which is at the end of a 3-year collective bargaining agreement. Operations, we had some summer projects scheduled, and we still have some scheduled, but not all of them. So we have a roofing replacement that's going to happen over the math and science wings at Petoskey High School. We were planning to renovate some staff restrooms outside of the auditorium at the high school, as well as putting in an ADA compliant ramp at the main entrance, and those 2 jobs are going to be put on hold and rolled into our summer of 22 projects, because what we were finding from a lot of our contractors was that they couldn't guarantee that they were going to be able to get materials. So some more supply chain things related to COVID. So we thought, instead of having a big giant hole in the front of the building for the start of school next year, let's pause, let's rebid in October, November, and get the materials ordered and get them physically here earlier, so that we can make sure that that project gets wrapped up on time. Our custodians, who have done just an amazing job this year, were trained early on when we got the turf at Northman Stadium to fix some minor repairs, and over time, 5 years, there's been some larger kind of seam separations. And so we brought in a crew, a professional crew, to relace some of those larger spots in the turf to make sure that those were done really well. And then they vacuumed out all of the fill, the little tiny black pieces of rubber that kind of help make sure that it's cushiony enough for the athletes. Vacuumed that out, ran it through a sanitization process, replaced it, and then raked it out nice and evenly and tested it to make sure that the concussion standards were met. So Northman Stadium is going to be ready to go. And soccer game, I think, is going on out there right now. So a nice refresh there. Hopefully we'll get us some extra mileage out of the turf there, and keep everybody, make sure everybody's, again, safe and as injury free as possible. Food service, again, if you've not met Beth Kavanaugh, she's our director of food service. She works for Chartwell's. She does an amazing job. Her crew is phenomenal. And so even back in March, when we didn't really know a whole lot about COVID, other than all of a sudden our world kind of stopped and there was nobody else around, but food service was still around. And they were making meals every day, Monday through Friday. And at that time, we were putting them on buses and sending them out to 4 or 5 different locations throughout the district, and families were picking them up remotely. Got back to school, we were able to offer through a program free breakfast and lunch, which continued all the way through the school year. So they made more lunches probably than normal because kids didn't have to pay for it, which was great. And also, they were bagging up additional meals at some points, like 1,000 to 1,200. I think 1,250 was, one of the bigger numbers that were going out through on a delivery or on a pickup basis. So we had a large pickup line, 1:30 to 2:30 on Fridays that ran, and that has settled down a little bit. But there were some times there where that was really being accessed and really being utilized, which was great. So they have just done a phenomenal job. They come to work, they take care of kids. And they've been really valuable members of our team as well. Health and safety, you might notice we have Ed Nowak out at the corner there by Ottawa School, taking over for Chuck as our crossing guard. Chuck has been out there for many, many years. He grew up right there on the corner. It's fun to talk with him about how much that's changed since he was a boy. But Ed is up there now. Give him a wave and a smile. He's a friendly guy, and he's doing a great volunteer service for us to make sure kids cross that street or those streets safely and get to school and get home from school on time. And then we're fortunate to have from Public Safety Officer Ben Carlson. Ben has an office now at the high school. He works out of there a lot of days, covers some, helps us out at the middle school. And really Ben's primary role, although there is some some law enforcement involved, is really building positive relationships with kids. He's really passionate about that because it was his relationship with the liaison when he was in high school that got him interested in law enforcement. And so he's doing a nice job. He's got a real easy demeanor, really friendly with our students, sits down, like engages with kids. It's really been a nice benefit. And then if we have had any issues at the school, he's been on hand to help us out, manage those, whether they be medical or like I said, a law enforcement issue, whatever comes up. We also added this year Misty Jakeway from Alcona Health. She is a nurse that is working primarily in our middle and high schools. She helped us out, as I said earlier, with the testing program. She's available for health and wellness screening. She'll be available for the standard vaccinations that we had before that were required for school. We expect that program will grow in the future. She can also see kids that have an issue at school. They get injured. They're not feeling well. She can do a quick screening with parent permission, and then send them either home or back to class with a bag of ice. And so my 7th grader was a customer of hers not too long ago. He took a tennis ball right to the eye. And needed a little bit of medical attention. And so Misty took a good look at him, gave him a good pat on the head, and sent him back to class. So what a year to add a nurse to your school staff. It was like great timing. It's just through a federal grant that we're accessing to with Alcona Health. Summer school is busy and hopping. This is something that, when the summer school rules and incentives rolled out from the Department of Education, superintendents across the region kind of roll their eyes and it's like, yeah, our staff is done. Our kids are done. People just need a break. Like, this isn't going to happen. And so we got looking and digging and thought, what is the most highly, effective way to handle summer school for us? And so one of the things that we were concerned about is if you started kindergarten in an online environment and you were coming back to the brick and mortar school, what would you need to be prepped and ready to go for first grade in person? And so we've developed the Fun in One program. And there are over 12, it's over a dozen students enrolled in that right now. They'll work with the teacher. They'll get a chance to do some social interaction, get familiar with the school building, talk about the schedule, do some extra assessments, figure out where things are, and they'll be ready to go as first graders when they come back into the building or come to the building for what will be their first year. And we have Acceleration Academy at the elementary and middle school level. That is our traditional summer school offering. So we have 60 kids enrolled at both, over 60 at the middle school level and at the elementary level. And then we're offering high dose tutoring. So that is a certified Petoskey teacher paired up with 1 to at most 3 students to go over specifically areas that have been identified by their teachers, by their assessments that say, this is where they can really make those gains, and that high dose, low interval or low resolution teaching can really help out. Really proves itself to be a really highly effective way to help to get kids back on track before they slip too far behind. And then at the high school, we'll have credit recovery. We've got more than 50 students signed up there, all subjects, all grades. So kids need to make up on some credit. Anybody that was falling behind, we'll get them plugged in. We'll get them connected to teachers and programs and curriculum, get them caught back up so that they can get back to where they need to be with their progress towards graduation. In addition, our social and emotional and mental health supports through Alcona, the therapists that we have in each of our buildings, those will also be available to our students throughout the summer. So really feel good about this. I'm really thrilled that we had, I think, 40 some teachers apply that wanted to be a part of this summer. So folks are energized. And it's not exactly what I think most people would expect after this year, and there's kind of a lot of fatigue. But I think now it's like we've turned the corner, we made it, we've overcome a lot of things, we've learned a lot of new things, we've taken on a lot of challenges, and in a lot of ways been really successful. Obviously, you don't want to see anybody get sick. But that was a pretty tall order to not have any of that happen, but we were able to keep the school building open and for the most part, keep our staff and our students as healthy and as safe as possible. So I think people are feeling really good about that, feeling like they want to be a part of an innovative kind of approach to what we could do in the summertime to help either, catch kids back up or give them that extra boost to give them an advantage when they start the upcoming school year. What's next? So we're talking a lot about, what is it going to look like next year? Is it going to be the full-on return of in-person school, or are we going to have some format of an online offering? And so, we feel like in-person is definitely what we do best, but we also feel like we've learned a lot about the delivery of online instruction. And there are some students who that works really well for. And so we're trying to weigh those options now about, it's staff heavy to operate in the way that we operated it this year. We don't know what the numbers, and we've got surveys, but until people actually sign up and commit to that, it's a bit uncertain as far as how many that would be. So, and what grade level they would be and what courses they would want to take, and highly qualified requirements make that staffing a difficult piece too. So when we did this survey, there were approximately 3% who said, yeah, we'd strongly consider that if you had that option delivered in the same way that we have it now. There's some issues with pupil accounting, some flexibility that we were offered this year, not just we, but all schools, to get these online programs up and running. That's going to go away. Next year, we can plan on going back to the standard pupil accounting rules, which may or may not impact an offering that we would do. So we're going to keep talking about it. We'll take a recommendation to the school board and then make a final decision and then get that communicated out to our families. Teacher shortage is a big topic across the state of Michigan and across the country. We continue to do really well and have been really fortunate when we reach out with open staff positions that we've attracted some really high quality candidates, and we'll be adding 11 to the team for next school year. And those interviews went really well, from elementary to middle to high school to a counseling position. It's remarkable. It's exciting hiring new folks, bring them onto the team that match the fit and the vision and the desire and the will to do great things for kids is always a highlight. And we've had the good fortune of being able to do that and do it successfully. We, through a series of conversations with the board that really began last year, I have, been aware of and recognized the need for high quality preschool options here in Petoskey, and we're able to start up 2 classrooms. They'll be housed at Ottawa Elementary for 4-year-olds, and it's going to be called Little Northman Preschool. So each classroom can hold up to 16 students. And we now have both classrooms full. So it'll be a Monday through Thursday. There will be students mixed in there from Great Start Readiness Program. I believe some Head Start students, maybe not Head Start, I can't remember for sure. And then tuition-based programs. So there'll be mixed classrooms. And those teachers will get all of the training. They'll use the creative curriculum, and they will be receiving training and professional development along with those Great Start Readiness teachers. And we also have 2 GSRP and Head Start classrooms already in existence over at Ottawa. So we have 4 classrooms really providing high quality preschool for youngsters. And although it doesn't solve the entire issue in the community related to preschool, it's a really significant start, and we're really excited about being able to offer that and being able to measure the results as they come up through our elementary and higher. And then I think, as we focus on things like how many chairs can you have in a room and how far apart do you have to have people stand, and what do you measure, 3 feet or 6 feet or 10 days or 14 days? We're all looking forward to really getting the focus back and the majority of the conversations back on academics and excellence and rigor, and really, helping our students to reach whatever the next level is for them, whether that's a trade or technical school, whether that's here, whether that's in Dallas, Texas. We want our students to leave here and be competitive because of what we have been able to offer and how we've supported them and prepared them for life when they leave our halls. So we're excited about having the opportunity really to focus back in that area to our commitment to providing that high quality education, making sure that all of our decisions, you know, track back really quickly to what's in the best interest of our kids and our community, and that we're continuously improving and focusing on how can we just get a little bit better each and every year, each and every week. How is what we're doing today going to help us and our students to get better for tomorrow? So we have done that to the greatest degree possible this year, but there's been, you know, a few kind of distractions along the way. I cannot say enough about the work that our staff has done, our secretaries, mentioned our custodial staff, mentioned our kitchen staff, our bus drivers at Johnson's buses, never wavered, never flinched. They were there driving the buses, masks on, windows down a little bit. Our teachers, some of them, you know, have never taught online before, and all of a sudden they're online teachers. And the program that we used from Genesee ISD was bumpy, I guess, to say the least at the beginning, and they hung in there. They persevered and they got through it. And that's the story, I think, of this year is, you know, it was a lot of learning, a lot of things that were different, a lot of flexibility that was built in, and this grit and determination. And you could just see the determination from our teachers and from our principals and all of our staff to do what was right for kids. So couldn't be prouder of our group from this year. Looking forward to much more typical, calmer next year, but you know, this was not a lost year. This was not anything that we have, you know, our heads hung low about. We've tackled a lot of challenges here. It hasn't been perfect, and we know that, and we're still working on it. And we're not done yet, but we feel really good about all the work that was done by, you know, over 400 staff members here for the benefit of almost 3,000 kids. So I think that is it for me, unless you have any questions.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. That was really great information and a really positive outlook. I do see that we had some questions from Joan. She is asking, did we count kids in quarantine, and how many of the positive kids were asymptomatic?
Good question. I don't have the number of how many kids were quarantined this year, but I do know that some of the students that tested positive were asymptomatic. But I don't have the hard data on that off the top of my head.
Okay, and then how many kids missed assessments due to quarantine? Do you have any numbers on that?
I don't know.
Okay. What is your impression of the effects of COVID on the social, emotional well-being of students?
I think it's complicated. I think one of the things that we noted in the spring, when it was just a hard shutdown and we had to go find our students, some of them we didn't have, you know, accurate contact information. We didn't know where they were. That worried us a lot because a lot of our students were isolated. We didn't know where they were. We couldn't put eyes on them and do the type of checking that we've become so accustomed to doing. So I think that, you know, for some students, they were able to maintain some social interactions and peer groups. I think the impact is probably going to be less in that realm, but I think, you know, there's certainly, I think, a growing group with sort of anxiety, depressive type symptoms. I think that this was certainly a significant challenge to all kids, but I think especially if you had some underlying issues related to depression or anxiety, then I think probably this is, you know, substantially impacted you in a negative way. So that was one of the driving concerns really when we would meet and talk. Like, it was so important. And it was such a balancing act throughout this whole year to go and to think about, okay, we have to balance the physical health and the spread of the virus and the transmission within our students, both symptomatic or asymptomatic. And then also take a look at, you know, what are the needs and what are we doing when kids can't come to school or can't be with each other? What is the impact of that going to be? So it's a good question. I think it's complicated, but I think, you know, hopefully we were able to kind of ease some of that by having kids back or having the buildings available and our counselors available to them as much as we possibly could.
Okay, and do you know how many kids that were put into quarantine actually came down with COVID?
To my knowledge, no students that we quarantined out of school as close contacts ended up coming down with COVID.
That's good news.
Mhm.
Okay, will the rules for students who choose not to get the vaccine be different in school from those students who do? Do you presently have any insight on this?
I would say no. The rule is going to be the rule. We don't have access to that information. I don't think we want anybody, at least right now. I don't have any information that there's going to be anything coming down where we're going to be checking students. I don't think this is. I've not heard anything where this new vaccine is going to go into that system that's going to be required for school. I'm not hearing anything like that from the Department of Ed or from the Department of Health and Human Services. So what we are doing is saying, like, we have to pick a lane that's going to be best for the whole school, and then come up with what those requirements, what those mitigation strategies are going to be for everybody, regardless of whether you are vaccinated or not.
Okay, I think you touched on this next question. What does next school year look like for masks? I have big concerns with regard to the segregation of vaccinated versus non-vaccinated students. Additionally, their medical condition regarding the vaccine is then known to all. Shouldn't this be protected by HIPAA?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know what next year is going to bring as far as masks go. I've heard, everything from we'll be out of this by the 4th of July to, this could be another year. It just depends on who you listen to. So I really don't know at this point, but we'll be watching it closely, obviously, as things progress.
Okay, well, after the last 14 months, what have you learned new and what would you have possibly done differently?
What have I learned new? Learned how to start an online school. learned where a lot of new information was, and communication channels between the federal CDC and the state Department of Health and Human Services and our local health department. I think that probably the most. The thing that stands out to me the most was when we got back to high school was closed. So I had to close the high school for, I think, 2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks. We were struggling. We had staff down, spouses down. We couldn't get enough subs. And finally just had to say, like, all right, we have to take a little pause for 2 weeks. And then the governor kind of paused us an additional 2 weeks or so after that. And so the high school was empty for, I want to say, a little over a month. And the thing that I learned that stands out to me the most was the look on the teachers' faces when the kids finally came back into the building. That was the neatest thing about it all. You could see that they genuinely missed having the kids there, that they genuinely appreciated having them and what they do and the work that they do together. And I think, likewise, like a teacher said to me, like, this year is different because they understand and they appreciate that they need us as learning partners as well. And it's not just us kind of pushing things at them. They see it in us this year that they need us to help them. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. What I do different? Boy, I think there are probably lots of things that I would have done different. I don't know that I have had a chance to reflect long enough. Things have been continuing to come at us on the kind of the offensive thing, but certainly we'll take time to go back and reflect at the end of this and to think through, like, how we could have done better. And hopefully we won't have the same set of circumstances face us again, but for future things, what could we apply that we learned through this? That we'll certainly look at that.
Okay, this next question, there is another question after it that's very related, so I'm going to read them both. If no students in quarantine developed COVID, can we discontinue the quarantining then? And then, given that 0 students on quarantine have tested positive for COVID and other schools in state are discontinuing quarantine practices, are we considering that for the conclusion of this year?
Yeah, good question. And it's certainly a question that we get a lot. And so there are certain things about this that we have been able to make decisions about. And a lot of that had to do with the creation of our preparedness and response plan. And a lot of things having to do with quarantine specifically are guided by either the State Department of Health and Human Services or by our local health department. And so when the schools on the west side of the state started to, I guess, opt out or not quarantine close contacts anymore, we, being the local superintendents in this region, met with our health department, and they believed that we were in a different enough situation that this, for the safety of our community and for our schools, even though we hadn't had a parent transmission, other than I think there were some sports teams that they talked about. They requested, they supported that we would continue with this practice through the rest of the school year.
Okay, and then just a general comment. I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Parker for keeping us all updated on everything during all of this. I'm sure it's not easy, but you make it look easy and effortless.
Thanks.
And that is the last of the comments. So thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate you taking this time on a really nice day to do this. And thanks everyone for joining us. And I will be sending out a recording link to everybody in case you missed any of this, or for people who decided to enjoy the weather instead of come on here today. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.